bits by the wind. They describe runners unconscious, foaming at the mouth. The incident has sparked public outrage on social media. Many are blaming the city's government for poor planning, asking why the extreme weather had not been predicted.
作为赛事主办方，我们深感内疚和自责，并对遇难人员表示沉痛哀悼，对遇难者家属和受伤人员表示深切的慰问。
An investigation team has been set up to further look into the incident.
Well, still to come, an education crisis brewing in Myanmar. A third of teachers across the country have been suspended for opposing the coup. And help on the way for food delivery riders in Singapore.
There was a huge manhunt for this man.
Podcast producer Rovik Roberts investigates a mysterious murder from the past.
This is a spicy case. Spicy.
To understand how Singapore turned from a city of vice.
Singapore was a Chicago of the East. Clashes and shootings were rampant.
Into one of the safest in the world.
When the caning started, holy smoke, it was a game changer.
Into the Vault 3, Wednesday on CNA.
For exquisite living on the fringe of the city, Singapore Property Show presents coveted developments in the rest of Central Region. Exclusive addresses with amenities well within reach, yet away from the hustle and bustle of the city centre. Experience stunning 4D virtual tours of these properties and get expert advice on property investments at our webinars. It's all happening at sps2021.99.co. Register now. The Singapore Property Show 2021 is proudly organised by MediaCorp and our esteemed partners.
We're going to be 10 billion people from the current 7 billion in just the next couple of decades.
So little land with so many mouths to feed.
The climate is collapsing. Every day we are facing new challenges.
Asia's food security is at breaking point.
We need to innovate in order to provide sufficient food for people in the world.
There are great challenges in front of us, and only future will tell us how successful we are going to be.
These are the people racing to feed the world.
I would say 80% of them said I was crazy.
Itu diwujudkan saat semester akhir kuliah.
तो हमने सोचा कि ये हमारा एक टेक्नोलॉजी को रियल टाइम है जब मार्केट में लाने के लिए और बस वही पॉइंट था हमारे लिए.
It's first catch the meat produced in China. That's magic.
Do I want to come to a situation where my children are going to ask me, so you knew all of these stats, yet you haven't done anything about it?
Race to Feed the World, premiering 31st of May, Monday on CNA.
Taiwan's health minister has promised to resolve a COVID-19 testing jam. The government is facing criticism after abruptly raising case numbers. This weekend, 570 new cases have been added. These are infections over the past week that had not previously been accounted for because of delays to the testing system. The health minister says hospitals were slow to report infections due to the complicated system. He adds that reporting protocols have since been simplified to reduce the delay, but that also means more backlog cases could appear in the coming week. And Malaysia is putting a cap on how much time people spend inside stores. Shoppers can only spend a maximum of 2 hours in retail premises, including shopping malls. It's part of tougher COVID-19 restrictions that will kick in on Tuesday. It's another day of record daily infections. Nearly 7,000 new cases have been reported. From Tuesday, businesses will be ordered to close at 8 p.m. 80% of government workers and 40% of the private sector have been ordered to work from home. Public transport capacity will also be halved. Thailand has tightened border control measures after authorities detected the South African variant of COVID-19 near its border with Malaysia. At least 9 villages in Tak Bai district are under lockdown. Authorities say the variant entered Thailand as a result of illegal border crossings. So far, 81 cases of the variant have been detected. Thailand says it will increase manpower, checkpoints and electric surveillance along all land borders. It has also ordered officials to be tougher on illegal migrant trafficking. Food delivery riders in Singapore who get infected with COVID-19 may soon get support if their livelihoods are affected. The Labour movement will provide more details later. It is also working on other ways to help riders who are struggling financially. Delivery orders have risen as dining in is currently banned. But many say that has not translated into better earnings. Heidi Ng with more.
With dining out banned, delivery platforms are going all out to cash in on the deluge of orders. YQ, which serves hawkers, doubled its rider fleet to 2,000 bikers to get ready for the tightened measures. And Foodpanda has been dishing out incentives to get more riders on board.
Last year, we have seen a growth in maybe 50%, 40% in the total rider fleet. Now, over the last days, we have seen a huge inflow of new and existing riders coming back to the platform. We increased the incentive for referrals, new joiners, and for returning riders. For existing riders, we also have an attractive incentive fees for the peak hours.
But in a bid to meet more demand, some riders say the space is getting too crowded.
They thought there's a lot of orders, so there's a lot of riders. So that's when we don't receive a lot of orders.
Yeah, we expected to be more orders because of this this semi-breakdown, lockdown, but then in reality it's not, so we have to work a bit more longer hours to earn about the same amount instead.
Normally I do like office hour, like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, then I stop my work.
Then what about now? Because
now I have to work until 9.
It doesn't help that some have to wait up to 3 times longer or more than an hour at some food vendors which are struggling with orders. Such delays eat into these riders' earnings since it means fewer deliveries done in a day. One expert says companies won't benefit if they only take in riders when the need arises. Instead, incentives such as health insurance should be given to retain them.
We don't want the unemployment statistics to fluctuate dramatically because people are moving in and out of the gig economy, and that's not a good thing. So the incentives will be on the private sector to retain these workers because hiring and retention is very costly for the private sector.
For now, riders are getting respite from measures such as longer grace period for parking and places to rest in malls. Meantime, the Labour movement is working with its National Delivery Champions Association to help riders financially.
We actually have looked at options, both at the NTUC side, which is the Care Fund side. We're working together with the association now to actually come up with forms of support should our riders catch COVID-19 and it affects their livelihoods as well as their families in adverse ways. So we will be looking at making an announcement quite soon about that.
At the same time, the association is also working on other ways to help riders make ends meet.
The current passenger flights that are operating between Singapore and India are for people to return home, and most who enter the country are returning citizens and permanent residents. Singapore's Transport, Foreign Affairs and Manpower Ministries said this in a joint statement in response to media queries on why flights are still arriving from India despite the suspension of flights. These flights are chartered by the Indian government, but those who need to return to Singapore can also be allowed on board. All such flights operate out of Terminal 1, and about 180 passengers leave the Republic for India, while about 25 arrive in India each day. These passengers will have to arrive in Singapore each day. Now, these passengers will have to take 2 COVID-19 tests on arrival at Changi Airport and will be escorted to a stay-home notice facility for 21 days. An education crisis is brewing in Myanmar. More than 125,000 school teachers have been suspended for opposing the coup, and that is almost a third of all teachers. It comes days before the start of a new school year, which some teachers are boycotting as part of efforts to paralyze the country. Our students at the forefront of daily protests have also said they plan to boycott classes. At the same time, fighting has fled in Myanmar near the border town with China. A gun battle has erupted between security forces and armed ethnic groups in the town of Muse. It's the latest